Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. We are in Mexico City. This is the third video documenting my trip here for Art Week. I will link my other videos in the description box below so you can watch them in any order as you wish. We're starting the day at Raku Cafe. This is one of Enrique Olvera's favorite places to get coffee, so we thought we would get coffee here too, and it is fantastic. We're going to start the day in Polanco. It's where we're headed now. Polanco is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Mexico City. There's a lot of great restaurants and some very upscale shopping. But we are going to start at one of my favorite galleries. I think they have one of the most beautiful spaces in Mexico City. This is Proyectosmonclova. I knew right when I saw the giant balloon in the doorway that we were in for a treat. You can even smell the plastic. It had a very strong smell to it, which honestly gave me a lot of nostalgia. So we're going to see an exhibit of works by Eduardo Terrazas, who is a Mexican artist and really one of the key founders of Mexican contemporary art. He's known for creating works that utilize geometric shapes, which makes sense since he has a background in architecture and a strong love for design. Something else that's really beautiful and unique about Terrazas' work is how he incorporates his culture. So he's known for utilizing Mexican craft techniques and really elevating them to create this fine art form. The show is titled To Weave the Possibility, and it features a number of wool yarn paintings that are part of various series titled Cosmos, Diagonals, Grid, and Tablas. And wool yarn painting can be traced all the way back to the Huichol community. Hans Ulbricht Oberist does a really great write-up of the show, which I've linked in the description box below, but in it he says, quote, Terrazas once told me that people need to think with their hands. While everyone relies on their hands to navigate the internet, the meticulous process of delicately positioning threads in his yarn paintings demands a focused and absorbed approach. This intricate act becomes a form of meditation, highlighting the significance of craftsmanship in soothing our minds and encouraging thoughtful engagement through tactile exploration. Another way that Terrazas has infused the show with elements from his culture is through the inclusion of the plastic balloons that we saw walking in and all over the floor. So not only does Terrazas have key childhood memories of his parents buying him one of these every Sunday, but they're also referencing a major industry that's important to Mexico. So apparently Mexico had one of the largest factories of balloons in the world in Guadalajara. So this is just another way that Terrazas is elevating the importance of his culture. On the next floor, we have an exhibit of works by an American artist who's based in Detroit, James Benjamin Franklin. And like many famous artists of the 20th century, such as Carmen Herrera, Frank Stella, Elizabeth Murray, and Sam Gilliam, Franklin has departed from using a traditional rectangular canvas and has instead decided to utilize an organic, irregularly shaped canvas. This gives his paintings a more sculptural quality to them, and this is exacerbated even more by the introduction of various textures, which he's achieved through combining found textiles with paint and brushwork. Another unique thing about Franklin's compositions are how they have this tray-like quality, which allows them to hold, quote, a plethora of materials in a matrix of painterly and sculptural practices. Pieces of crochet afghan, old towels, swaths of fabric, or offcuts of pile carpet are assembled and overlaid with poured and brushed paint and often dusted with glitter and sand. Similar to Terrazas' paintings downstairs, these materials are a tribute to craft and a call out to its frequent absence and frankly lack of respect within the fine arts. It's also a nod to where Franklin went to art school, the Cranbrook Academy of Art, which is an institution renowned for its innovations in the field of fiber and ceramics. We're now going to head upstairs for a look at the final exhibit at this gallery space. These are works by the Mexican artist Karen Rodríguez, and they're inspired by the written language. So in previous projects, Rodríguez documented graffiti tags, decomposing them into what essentially became these abstracted urban landscapes. So these works are similarly inspired by writing, but in a more formal depiction, so calligraphy. So the ceramic works are inspired by the forms of calligraphy, especially the negative space that surrounds the letters of the Roman alphabet. And the paintings on the wall are created by extracting the forms of various letter groupings such as LM, WX, HS, VW, and others to create new colorful patterns and rhythms. So Polanco is a fairly large neighborhood. I mean, honestly, all the neighborhoods in Mexico City are fairly expansive, but it's also an upscale neighborhood and very safe, or relatively safe. So we are going to walk to the next gallery, which is about a 20-minute walk away. And this is Moran Gallery, who also has a location in East Hollywood and Los Angeles, in addition to this beautiful space. This is an exhibit by Raúl de Nieves, whose work is highly influenced by the rituals of everyday life and the, quote, foundational influence of one's community. So this includes for him the state where he grew up in Mexico, Mexico City's downtown marketplaces, as well as club and queer culture in New York City. As you can see in some of these close-ups, he uses humble, almost childlike materials like nylon string, plastic beads to create these works. But the way that he's assembled the materials in this really meticulously executed way, it just elevates them to a place of significance where they become more than a toy or a child's craft material. I think this creates a really beautiful metaphor for growing up and becoming an individual, an adult. We take all of these pieces of our childhood and we weave and assemble them together in a way that transforms them into this new, exalted form that takes on an identity of its own. This work is a beautiful dramatic centerpiece for the show, and it's titled in English 33 Seconds of Compassion, and it consists of various ornamented hands covered in bells and other objects, and they're organized to create this sort of jingly mandala, which, if you're not familiar with the symbol, it is a, quote, symbol of the universe in its ideal form. And its creation signifies the transformation of a universe of suffering into one of joy. It can also be used as an aid to meditation, helping the meditator to envision how to achieve the perfect self. We're now going to take a quick lunch break and go to one of my favorite taco places in Mexico City, Tacos Orinoco. My favorite thing to get actually isn't a taco though, but the quesadilla. I could eat so many of these. They grill the cheese on the tortilla face down on the grill, which makes it super crunchy and delicious. We made another quick stop back at the hotel for a quick outfit change because it's actually getting a little cold out and I wanted a jacket. And we're now going to head over to a different neighborhood, one actually where most galleries are, and that is Condesa. So this is Kurimanzutto Gallery, and if you've seen any of my Mexico City videos from previous years, you will probably have been here with me, virtually. This is such an incredible building and such a great example of the way that they often combine wood and concrete in such a beautiful, modern way. This is an exhibit by Gabriel Orozco, and there are a few different components to the show. There are drawings, paintings, and sculptures. So let's start with the drawings. The drawings are impressions of leaves made with gouache, tempera, ink, and graphite. And it's a series that Orozco started in Tokyo during the COVID-19 pandemic, where he would document the leaves that caught his attention or fell at his feet. And he continued to do this as he traveled on to Acapulco and Mexico City. The paintings in the show are my personal favorite, and they feature the superimposed figures of Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man and the Aztec goddess of life and death. So the paintings are meant to represent a way of encouraging interactions between cultures, which we can see in the superimposition of the two figures, as well as explore how they influence our existence in the universe. So both figures represent some form, whether scientific or spiritual, of creation. From a technical perspective, the works were created using an ancient technique of tempera painting on a 2x2 meter canvas. The sculptures in the show are also absolutely stunning. They were made here in Mexico, carved from local stones such as red volcanic tezontle and white marble, like you see here. Our next stop is going to be Labor Gallery, which, although from a distance perspective, it is not that far from Kurimanzutto, but you do have to go through a tunnel over a highway, which is a bit of an ordeal, so we just Ubered over. I love Labor Gallery's space. It's like a little secret garden back here. This is an exhibit by the Argentinian painter Varda Caivano, and it's titled Luz de Luna, or Moonlight in English. So Caivano is very interested in how paintings are technically made and conceptually executed. She's experimented with many methods of painting throughout her career. She's experimented with painting in monochrome, using just gray. She's experimented with various techniques of manipulating paint by doing things like sanding paint on the canvas or painting the canvas from behind, or even painting on both sides of the canvas. In her most recent works, like we see here, Caivano experiments with the paint itself, using more vibrant and metallic paints inspired by medieval and Renaissance paintings. Given her history, I'm sure she will continue to experiment, so I'm very interested to see what she comes up with next. Our next stop is Le Laboratoire, or I think that's how you pronounce it at least. It is another very unique and gorgeous space. I feel like I'm repeating myself all day today, but they're fantastic. And this is why I love coming to Mexico City. The spaces are just so beautiful. Le Laboratoire definitely features more conceptual art, but still enjoyable shows. They're not completely void of connection because they're so far out, like I find some conceptual art. And this is an exhibit by Guillermo Santamarina, who is an artist, but also a curator who's organized over 600 exhibits, which really makes sense if you look at the variety of the art that is a part of the show and the way that he talks about each artwork. He's definitely coming at it from a curator's viewpoint, just based on what he's created and how he explains it. In general, he's really concerned with how a show's environment not only impacts his own emotions, but how they impact viewers as well. The viewer is top of mind for him. And he's more focused on the concept than depicting reality, since reality is subjective and constantly changing. And in general, his artwork is a reflection of his ongoing journey of self-discovery. The show's title, Fetishes de la Condesa Polar, are referring to his attachments to certain ideas or paradigms seeking certainty. So there definitely is a kind of obsessive element to many of his pieces, kind of like a mad scientist, especially this book with the post-its. The downstairs gallery has a group show featuring works from 3 artists, and the show is called Horizon, and it brings together works that explore the concept of perception in its various forms, especially linear perception and how it relates to the horizon. Another cool thing about this space is that they have a coffee shop in the front, so you can really extend and enjoy your time here. Our final stop is a newer gallery. KÖNIG Gallery is actually a German gallery who has the most incredible space in a brutalist church in Berlin. I'll leave the video where I visit it linked above and below if you want to check it out. It is unreal. But this space is completely different. It is a house, as you can see, in Condesa that has been transformed into a gallery. Because this is their first show, it's set up as more of a viewing room highlighting some of their artists. This is where things really start to get exciting. Although you have to climb this very questionable set of stairs to get to the rooftop, it is really beautiful up here. It's very cute, and I loved these surrealist sculptures by the artist Lia Muggiani. And that is all for this video, but that does not conclude my trip to Mexico City. I will have one more video where I share the very last from this trip, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that, and I will see you all in my next video.